All right. Welcome, allies, Megovan and Melanine, to the little hobbit hole here in my tiny little part of Ukraine. I'm James. I'm an American in Ukraine, and I'm here to give the viewpoint from Ukraine, I guess, and sometimes Ukrainians. I hope you enjoy it. I see the gang is all here. Thank you all for coming. The first thing I have to share with you guys today is, fuck Elon Musk. Okay? That's what I have to say about that. He says he's retweeting this bullshit. The Biden administration beefed up security protection for President Zilinsky and denied beefed up security, the Secret Service protection for President Trump. In the meantime, okay, first of all, I would say Zilinsky is far more important than Trump. But in the meantime, by the way, YouTube censors, to be clear, this is a sleeping and hiding soldier. It's a sleeping soldier, not a dead soldier. Okay? Just to be clear. Dude's sleeping on a mattress here, as sometimes they do. Mitch, you have some fish on the final stage of smoking. You should tell your fish to stop, because it's unhealthy. Final stage of smoking, it sounds terrible. Do they have lung cancer? Or is it like some other kind of cancer? Anyway, bad humor. Sorry, guys. Thank you all for coming. KKs GG, it wasn't me. Anna, Mitch, Ashdown, Why the People, Nikki Hill, Herb, as always, Dimitru. It's great to see you all. Robert. Hello. Yes, an alliance gathering is nigh, I dare say. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your support. Okay, enough of this Twitter nonsense. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys heard. Sorry, I have popcorn in my teeth. So this is a real critical area down here now. And I'm not sure, but I think this might be a railroad. I think this is a railroad here. And obviously, this is a big reason why, would be a big reason why it was taken. Yeah, that's a railroad. And they are just really close to this road. This is the area that I've been talking about, and now I think everybody's starting to talk about, because it's so critical for the logistics for Chasiv Yar. And that's what's going on. They exist. Thank you so much for buying those memberships for people. Gone Bananas, Thorben, CZ, Matthias. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And Leslie. Wow. It's wonderful to have you as members. I hope that you will join the Discord. You just have to go into Discord, and if you don't have Discord, you can download it. And let's see. I'll show you. I think I know how to do it. Let's see, James. Do I know? Yes. You go here into Discord. You go to Connections. And right there, you choose YouTube from this list here. You click on it, and you enter your YouTube password. Bada bing, bada boom. You will automatically be entered into our Discord. So if you have a membership on YouTube, though they're connected, and it's really the only cool thing that membership gets you right now, to be honest. Although I do have members only videos, you get early access to a lot of short videos, shorts of like life in Ukraine and stuff that I publish. And I do that for OPSEC largely. Anyway, thank you for becoming members. I really appreciate that. Yeah, guys. Well, the flip side. I mean, we talked about this enough, but the other thing is they're trotting out Kamala. And I mean, I know this is not talking about Ukraine precisely, but it is, right? Because I think it's very good that Kamala is fighting for Joe Biden. She should be seen as doing that. I'm terrified what's going to happen, guys. I'm terrified. Was not joking with the title of today's video. Oh, thanks, Keith. It's just like raw Ukraine life. I am not skilled enough to do any like real production, but yes, Keith says those shorts are awesome. Funny. I went through my laundry the other day, and I have like 5 or 6 pairs of shorts, you would say, and all of them had holes in the ass. Like, and we don't even have a dog. I mean, it's the neighbor. He lives over with the neighbors, so, and the cats aren't going to eat my ass. So why the hell are all my shorts have holes in them? So the nice thing is, my wife took like 5 pairs of shorts down the street to a lady who works for that we have here in Ukraine. It's very common to have tailors. You can go, and people, rather than just throwing things away, people, reduce, reuse, repair. The word is remont. Upcycle way before you even get to recycle. Recycling is like the last thing that Ukrainians do. They will repair and repair and repair. Mice, Anna, like mice who like the smell of farts. I just don't know. It's from working my ass off. Thank you, Keith. That's what I'm going to tell people. No, I think it's from sitting on my ass. That's the problem. Yeah, and so anyway, my wife took my shorts down yesterday to this lady lives a few doors down, and she fixed them all right up, which is fantastic. Because it's very difficult for me to get things in my size here in Ukraine. At least not in Ukraine, in this part of Ukraine, kind of in the rural area. Like if I were in Kiev or Lviv, it would be different. Are they holy? Is it the crotch? It's a mix. It's I don't know. Maybe my farts are sharp. I don't know what the deal is, but I'm sorry. I probably just got a lot of people unsubscribed there. I apologize. Speaking of farts, let's talk about Elon Musk. No, we did that already. No, actually, let's talk about this douche. President Trump and Zilinsky had a conversation. What can I say? I Zilinsky, I was VP of sales. I know how hard it is. I mean, maybe Trump's right. Maybe he is the best salesman. I hope it. I mean, I suppose that, there are arguments that you could make, in a purely, yeah, Dmitry, I'm sorry for being crass, but it leads into this subject, At least Zilinsky was just on the phone with him and didn't have to be in the same room, You ever heard of nose blindness? Yeah. I had a girlfriend who was nose blind. She was a total jock, So she always smelled like a boy's locker room. I mean, well, that sounds weird when I say it, but it was weird. It stunk up the whole house. It really sucked because then when my other girlfriend would come over, she would know that I'd had my other girlfriend there. And God, caused some real fights, as you can imagine. Dimitru. No, I'm the one who was talking about it, Dimitru. Not you. You just chimed in. I won't repeat what Dimitri said, though, just to spare all of your ears. By the way, my hobbit hole here, which is quite comfortable, but it's also very well insulated. Yeah, Mr. Swiggle, let's guess. Trump. I want you to give me, I know what you meant, on Biden. Yeah. So anyway, my hobbit hole here, my space age hobbit hole, is very well insulated, and it's great for keeping things cold. But also, like, I have a bunch of tea and coffee lined up, and chicory, which is a common drink here apparently, and it gets warm in this room quite quickly. But I will say the heat wave is over here in Ukraine. It seems that's something really good to report. The heat wave seems to be over here. And yes, you know they exist. We are going to talk about Irina Forian. Yeah, and the problem of assassins running free in Lviv and elsewhere. We are going to get to that. But yeah, you know, one thing I'd like to report about, you know, you guys have heard about the power outages have been horrific. The heat wave was, you know, obviously the drone situation with getting attacked and missiles and all of this stuff was causing that, you know, and here air defense last night intercepted 35 out of 39 Russian drones. So that, you know, that does continue. But the heat wave, because of Ukraine's reduced electrical capacity, now everybody's turning on, the people who have air conditioners are, of course, turning on their air conditioners. And that, I think, in no small measure, combined with the missile attacks, is what was causing a lot of the power outages. And so now the temperatures have gone down. It's a little bit warm, but not unpleasant. Maybe unpleasant for me. I like it cold. If I never see the sun again for the rest of my life, I can be perfectly happy. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe Zilinsky just, you know, there's a lot of kind of think about the purely, I would dare say, crass material transactional logic that what the hell's his name? Who's the senator? Lindsey Graham came to Ukraine and was talking about we can take all of Ukraine's resources. Don't let them go to China. You know, not caring about the people of Ukraine or anything like that. I mean, I understand he was trying to do something good for Ukraine. Maybe he was trying to speak to Trump in some way, but he should have done it in person. Okay, not publicly, because that speech that Lindsey Graham, I hate even Googling his name because that just gives him more street cred on Google, you know, gets him up in the search engine optimization. Let's see. Oh, this is nothing recent. Unfortunately, yeah, he made this big speech about this, and I mean, he was really talking to Trump. So maybe that's the sort of thing that Zilinsky said. Hey, listen, I'll cut you a deal. We'll give you all the coal in Donbass or the gas. You know, I've spoken on previous live streams about the gas line, the gas wells that recently discovered in Donbass, kind of more like Chasiv Yar area, and how critical those are, and how possibly those played a very distinct role in Russia's deciding to attack Ukraine. So there's this kind of a escarpment, I guess you would say, a fault line that runs across Ukraine, kind of going, generally speaking, from Kharkiv down to Luhansk, I mean, I'm not. It's roughly in this area here, and it's kind of a coal seam, and it starts out as producing oil up into southwestern Russia, and then moves down into gas as you get down in. And so it was just recently discovered, and with new fracking technology, it became available, and that may have instigated. It was just recently discovered, like in 2017 or something like that. So maybe he sold it some way. I hope he didn't sell out. I'm sure he didn't sell out. I think that he has been very clear, and he's absolutely correct. I mean, talking about Zilinsky, he's absolutely correct when he said, we are not going to trade land for a ceasefire under any circumstances. Even if he wanted to, he couldn't. I've said this over and over. Shahar, welcome. I don't know if I've seen you before, but I went for a while when I lived in Sweden, and I was doing low carb. The Swedes, the only people who drink more coffee, I think, at least in Europe, than the Swedes are the Ukrainians. And I did add butter to my black coffee. It was, it was interesting. Yeah, Lindsey Graham is a lowbrow person. Anna says Lindsey dances for whoever gives him the better deal. Yeah. Melissa, Keith and I live the dark dungeon life as much as possible. Yeah, we don't like the heat. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, lots of rare earth metals. Yeah, Dimitru. That's, it's like, come on, isn't Siberia big enough? Don't they have enough? Like, I've even heard Russian interviews where they say, like, why do we need Ukraine? We have a whole vast untapped wealth that, practically empty, just waiting to be exploited up here, unexplored. There's probably countless unexplored mineral wealth up in here. Why? I mean, we've been over this. We know why. All the historical bull crap and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, now this does not clear the way for anybody who says, oh, Mitch, your fish is done. That's good. So he stopped smoking. That's good news. Tell him it was a bad habit. Anyway, I mean, this does not in any way, let's say, exonerate Trump as being pro-Ukraine in any. And I do not agree with the guy that I showcased last night, who about on my live stream last night about how that we can make MAGA flip, and with the idea that Trump could just flip at any moment and go from really anti-Ukraine to really pro-Ukraine and anti-Russia. I don't know. No. Trump has too many long-term financial ties to Russia and Vladimir Putin. And his relationship with Zilinsky he'll sell Zilinsky out in a heartbeat. That's Shahar, you make a very good point. Russia lost its brains and capability when they lost Ukraine. Yeah, I in a large measure agree with that. And having lived here, and knowing a lot of high-level engineers and people from especially Kyiv and Kharkiv. Yeah, arguably the brains of Russia. KKs GG, you make a very good point. Work in those hinterlands can only happen about 3 months out of the year, though. Ukraine is pretty much year-round resource extraction. Yeah, and Peter Zion makes this big deal about the rivers in Russia. How the rivers in Russia run backwards for half the year because they freeze up, and then the water pushes up against the ice and goes backwards, and it's not operable for any kind of shipping or trade. So, hey Petra, hello to Sweden. Pike. Mitch is eating a pike. I hate fish. No, that's not true. I love fish. I just hate eating fish. I can't stand it. If somebody cooks fish, and let me tell you, Ukrainians love fish. My wife loves fish. She would eat fish every single day if it didn't make me leave the house for about 2 hours every time she eats it. I mean, you have no idea how much Ukrainians love fish. Okay, Keith, you have a very good question. I'm in your store and we're going to get a bunch of stuff. What does the email entail if I want to help more? That is that's like the next project that I am working on. So my goal, my long-term goal, is to not just raise money for Ukraine, but organize initiatives for volunteers, both coming here to Ukraine and also in your home country in America or wherever you happen to be. So if you put in your email at some point when I get there, it's like one step at a time, because it's just me right now. You may start to get emails from me with opportunities to volunteer. I want, Why Ukraine, the Last Alliance, to be, like a charity organization, kind of that charity volunteer organization. And so I'm not at that point, but in the future. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, chances are good that Russia has 50 times the mineral resources compared to Ukraine, maybe 100. And given another 50 years, if those were harnessed to wage war on Europe, the world is lost to Mordor. And that is why, they exist. I say that this war of attrition that that Europe thinks it can do to to slowly wear down Mordor is a failing strategy. Because eventually, and then now there's this axis of Russia, China, Iran, and potentially even India and North Korea. So, and China is all we already know. They're back. India's buying the oil. China's buying the oil. China is providing tons and tons of goods and services per day to back the war machine. Thank you, Petra. That's amazing. It really means a lot. Very few people send me super chats, but with love to Ukraine. Thank you so much. Dennis Davydov said Boris Johnson was. Cheryl says Dennis Davydov said Boris Johnson was talking land for peace in his Daily Mail article. First of all, you could just say Daily Mail article. No, but yeah, and Boris Johnson also has said that, Trump's going to save Ukraine. Yeah, okay. Let's see here. Yes, Ukraine. Yeah, Ukraine is the breadbasket of the world in many respects. I often say that Ukraine is Ukraine is the Mexico of Europe right now in many respects, or has been in the recent history. In the same way that Americans regard Mexico, or don't regard Mexico, Europeans have historically thought of Ukraine, based on my experience. And those of you who are Europeans, correct me if you want, but just based on my 3 months in Europe, traveling around and telling people, yeah, I'm thinking about coming to Ukraine, they were like, literally, I can't remember which German said to me, Ukraine is shit. Sorry, I can't do a German accent very well right now. Okay, they exist. Okay, this is a fair argument here. No, attrition is not a failing strategy. It's the only strategy other than nuclear deterrent at present. Political and societal evolution must convert Russian culture away from Mordorian principles. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say if it were combined with something else, like you were saying, like converting Russian culture. Anyway, I mean, this is good news, though, right? Spain begins new delivery of Leopard 2A4 tanks to Ukraine. I know Spain has a bunch of them, and as I understand, yeah, I think they're repairing Leopards for Ukraine. By the way, guys, I need to just apologize to you in advance. The last time I looked at the clock this morning, after going on the Shills last night, I pounded a bunch of coffee because I was super tired, like 2, maybe 3 cups of coffee. I can't remember. The last time I looked at the clock, it was 4:51 in the morning. I could not sleep to save my soul. And I woke up at 9. And I could not get back to sleep. So at some point in this live stream, I'm going to fall to pieces. I'm only at maximum. I'm only going to go less than another hour. Okay. So yeah, they are selling Kelly. So Cheryl says even Dr. Gerdes agrees. Astronaut Arizona Senator Mark Kelly would make an excellent presidential candidate. I was thinking with Harris as VP. I was thinking Harris as president and Kelly as VP, but that's because people already voted for Harris as VP. So it's my understanding of the legality of the thing, right? So, but yeah, there's different ways to work it. I don't know. I think it's real risky either way. Belle, thank you for coming. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. China has supercomputers. Mr. Squiggle says China has supercomputers calculating possibilities and recalculating on multiple fronts to decide choices and consequences. China has turned Russia into a vassal state and will keep leveraging Russia. Even more concerning is Trump's Taiwan, right? So Trump's announcement, okay, insinuation. All right, maybe there's some. Here we go. Trump says Taiwan should pay the U.S. for its defense. So I mean, fucking idiot, man. Just we need to get away from the, let's say, Nixonian, transactionalist, this idea of, countries don't have friends, only interests. America needs to take a stand for democracy, okay? Not for oil, not for whatever money we can get out of people, but for democracy. I don't want to live in a world where America is the only quote unquote free country and the rest of the world is dictatorships. And another thing, give me a second. I want to bring this up. Yeah, this. I don't know what this art. This is from 2022. Doesn't matter. Okay. As much as the anti-globalists want to complain about America being the world police, if America stopped patrolling the world's oceans, not just our economy, but the entire world economy would fall apart. Okay. We'd go back to the 19th century, or at least the early 20th century. Okay. And in fact, here's something I would like to posit to you. One real simple, easy way that the United States, without doing quote unquote sanctions, and you can disagree. This is just something I'm putting forth. One real easy way that United States could potentially put the kibosh on Russian oil and many other imports and exports. We know that Russia is, through Iran, supporting the Houthis, but at the same time, let's see where it is here. Houthis strike Houthis. At the same time, the Houthis just sunk like 2 Russian ships last week. 2 Russian oil tankers. Here we go. Houthis sink Russian ships. Houthi missiles. Oh, this is June. Damaged cargo ship. Okay. Yeah. June 19th. Okay. So they don't care. They'll hit anybody. I propose to you that the United States could just announce, we will no longer protect Russian shipping anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. Somali pirates, Straits of Malacca or whatever, pirates anywhere in the world you want, as long as it's a Russian ship. Let's see. Possum Nation. Yes, I was seeing lots of comments that the ships were Greek. Yes, they may have been Greek. I also saw some things. They fly under the flags of many different nations, but they're carrying Russian oil, and it's Russian, quote unquote, gray market oil. All that America has to do is say, we will no longer protect Russian shipping on the open ocean or anywhere in the world. Call me crazy, but I think that would be just or more as effective. Lynn, thank you so much. She says, keep up the great work, James, with love from Canada. I'm glad that you think I'm doing great work. I think it's mediocre, to be honest with you, but thank you for the compliment. One of those tankers was Liberian. Yeah, exactly. But it's carrying Russian oil. So that's all they have to do is announce, you know what? If it's carrying Russian oil or Russian goods, except for grain, it's fair game. That's all they got to announce. And boy, oh boy, would that change some things real quick. I would, surmise. I don't know. Call me crazy. But put it out there. I'm putting it out there. Maybe it'll catch fire. Maybe it'll spread. Stop the ships, pump off the oil, leave them with empty ships. Or they could just hijack the ships. The pirates. I mean, it's not going to be me. But yeah, basically, if they do it, the U.S. can say, yep, we're just taking hands off. Hang on. You guys have been having other and making other comments, and I want to read those too. Give me a second here. Let's see. Cheryl. AOC says the RNC is threatening lawsuits that will be decided in the corrupt Supreme Court if Democrats try to replace. That's interesting. Try to replace the Biden-Harris ticket. That is interesting. I'm very curious about that. Cheryl, if you have any articles about that, it's probably more in depth than I would like to go today, but feel free to send me those on Discord if you've come across those, because I'm very curious. So basically, the RNC could try to move against the Democrats and stop them from replacing their candidates. That's very interesting. I have been talking about, in a nebulous way, because I'm not an expert, about the legality of what the Democrats are potentially talking about doing. So, man. KKs GG. I don't really care what Dr. Gerdes thinks. He's never been a member of the Democratic Party and has zero input. to what they should or should not do. That being said, yes, Kelly would make a great 47. I agree. China, let's see. You know they exist. China, for all its oppressive practices over the masses, is actually one hopeful hope for the world. Their culture is not as sick as Russian culture. The West needs to embrace the healthy aspects. I mean, there are some, like, parts of Chinese culture that I think I personally kind of romanticized Chinese culture until I married a Chinese woman. And then I found out. I shan't go into it, but let's just call it, it's not prejudice, it's post-judice. No, but I mean, there are many, many beautiful aspects of Chinese culture, Buddhism, and all of these sorts of things. And you know, but boy, did I have an education for like 3 years. Anyway. Mr. Squiggle. Professor Gerdes explains made a mess of one of his shorter videos saying Trump didn't look too bad. He must not have watched the part about the hammer and Pelosi. Oh, good God. Yeah. Dimitru, money is and always will be involved. Yeah. Did I say the money wasn't involved? I don't know. Okay. I mean, Cheryl, the cognitive dissonance reduction and hopium is strong in him. Yeah, I mean, but give him credit. He's trying. Okay, he's a Republican who's trying. All right, and I'm sure there are Republicans watching, who are also trying. By the way, I would like to just point out that I guess Google must have heard me talking last night, because I just want to share this with you. I want to share with you this page.
You won.
We've been talking
it's over.
for some time.
A complete victory. We sure did. Your execution is tomorrow. I was sent to ask if you have any last requests. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Okay, I'm gonna mute it right now so I can just talk over this. This is a very interesting channel called ItsTryingBeings. And, we have been having some discussions last night and for months about, trying to talk to MAGA voters and Trump voters about Ukraine and how to bridge that gap. And this is a whole channel. And I'm just learning about it. I've watched like 5 or 6 videos on here. This is a whole channel basically dedicated, it seems, or largely dedicated to this exact subject. Dimitru, I just reread your message about, you said one of those tankers was Liberian, and I read it as one of those tankers was libertarian. maybe that's the caffeine wearing off. Bell, wow, thank you. 10 memberships. Holy crap-a-moles. Melissa Kane, Herb, and again, guys, feel free to join the Discord as well with your membership, because then you join as Elf Friends. And I'm thinking about changing the name of that, because I'm revamping a lot of things. I'm working really hard in the background. So you might see that name change. It's going to improve. I'm just going to kind of move things around. I'm going to put up a poll soon to see what do you guys want membership levels, and which also confer Discord roles. What do you want them to be named? I'm going to give you a couple of options because I'm thinking of changing it a little bit. I think we'll still stick with Elf Friends. I don't know if you guys hate that. Please let me know. Interesting. Anna, you said, talking about Cheryl's statement, Cheryl Watley, several articles on it. Moses Mike Johnson has been really threatening that. Oh, and Midas Touch did a video on it. Okay. I'll have to, I've been working so hard in the background this weekend, like I said, in the website stuff. I kind of fell behind on my American news. Hang on, I'm catching up to your... Yes, Cheryl, Anna, please post that information in our Discord. I'd really KKs GG. I don't dismiss Dr. Gerson. I just don't give two shits about what he has to say on the topic of Democratic Party. Wow, KKs GG. I want to be an ent. Yes. Oh my God, we need to have ents. We need to have ents. I'm an ent. Yeah, Dimitri, thank you. It's a work in progress. Yeah. Let's see. I want to go back through some of your comments here. Anyway, I just wanted to present this channel to you because it's Trying Beings, exploring us from life's origins to total jerks. It's not strictly related to Trump and MAGA people, but there's definitely a lot that. So I'm exploring this, and feel free to watch it as well, some of these, and tell me what you think about some of these videos. I'm not sure that he's provided any solutions necessarily. And correct me if I'm wrong, but in my personal experience, when I'm talking to Republicans, I use the Bible. I think it's always good to learn a few Bible verses, even if you're not into that sort of thing. There's a lot of things that Jesus said that I think were basic. I think he would have loved, progressive politics and progressive taxation, especially, to whom much is given, much should be required, given to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, is basically saying tax the rich, right? I mean, you could make that argument, is what I'm trying to say. So that's and also appealing to emotions. I just want to point out, as I did last night, I know we talked about this last night. Ukraine is a divisive issue for Republicans. If the Democrats want to divide the Republican Party, divide and conquer, they should just hammer away at the Ukraine issue. Hammer away at it. And I just don't see that happening, unfortunately. I see Democrats hammering away at each other, normalna, as we say here in Ukraine. Gosh, yeah, you guys are talking too fast. Shahar, I can't pronounce your last name there. The American people are tired of Trump. They just want it to be over. They are fed up with the chaos and the drama. I mean, God knows I am. Yeah, Cheryl, we need those old school Republicans more than ever to save ourselves in Ukraine. One thing I will say, if you are a Republican watching this, one thing that I love about Republicans is, boy, do they know how to organize shit. If you're having an event or something that you need organized and put together, get a Republican or a conservative person. They're great for that. They'll put it all in a notebook, have everything lined up. Wonderful. Just my personal experience. Not all of them, obviously. That's a broad generalization. They exist. The real threat is a psychopathic autocrat backed up by mercenarial and perverse minions and an unarmed populace. Yep. China plus Russia's alliance. That's exactly what Russia and China both have. And this is where people who, trust Trump to think that he's going to support their Second Amendment rights, at some point he's not, because that's the path that all fascists take. They do anything they can to get into power, and then once they do, they put a stranglehold on it. So, of course, if you support Trump, you're going to say, no, that's not what's going to happen. Study history. History doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme, right? Cheryl says, I'm thinking of all the disaffected Republicans who could be convinced to vote for the right Democratic candidate. When swing voters determine election, it's best not to antagonize the people. who could help save democracy. I think it's more, I mean, yes, maybe, but I think it's not so much a matter of turning as it is just making him not want to come out to vote at all. Yeah, there we go. Shahar. Republicans walk in lockstep, and with Democrats, it's like herding cats. And that's wonderful, right? Because everybody has their own ideas. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Let's take it back to Ukraine and get into some of this new. This, I don't know if you heard about this. Nearly 5,000 workers evacuated from Russian-occupied nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia. So this is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. By the way, look at this picture here. I don't know if you guys can see this. I've been on about this for months and months and months. Okay. You see that? Okay, what we see in the distance there, those are the 6 reactors, the 6 cores of this nuclear power plant. It's huge. Cheryl, I think a good half of those people who support Trump just really want to blow the whole thing up. Like, they're sick of America. I honestly think a lot of Americans just don't believe in America anymore. They don't believe in freedom. They don't believe it exists, and they just want to blow the whole shit to hell. I think that's what's going on. Another YouTube channel from Ukraine. Ukraine Scam Expert. Private investigator in Odessa YouTube channel. Ukraine's, oh boy, that's great. If you talk to Ukrainians about Ukraine, the first thing that most Ukrainians, because Ukrainians, yes, some of them, they might be patriotic, but one of the first things they'll tell you is Ukraine has a lot of scammers, and people are constantly trying to avoid getting scammed here in Ukraine, or getting scammed here in Ukraine. Ukraine Scam Expert. For almost 10 years of my work as a private detective and scam expert in Odessa. Interesting. Is he
scam-free restaurants, apartments, and real estate in Ukraine.
We'll
be examining current prices in Ukraine, so you can form a clear picture.
This is very interesting.
If Ukraine is the right place for you to visit. Men who plan or try to find an honest, trustworthy, beloved.
Okay. I'm definitely subscribing to this right now. How to find a virgin. Oh, look, here's one. Ukraine village house with land. What $4,500 can buy in 2023? Yeah, that looks pretty accurate. Very interesting. I will be very interested. Yeah, because there's a lot of people who come to Ukraine, men, Western men in particular, but also a lot of Middle Eastern men who try to come to Ukraine to meet Ukrainian women. And Ukrainian women hate it. They hate it. They hate Middle Eastern men. Not necessarily in a prejudiced way, in a post-Judas way. In other words, just a lot of bad experiences I've heard about. So Herb, you're also true. Your wife's Buddhist, daughter's Orient religion. Yeah, I'm also true and Buddhist, both, kind of. I do wear boots at least occasionally. Okay, enough. Okay, so the point of this picture, what I was actually wanting to talk about here is, first of all, this is terrifying. Nearly 5,000 workers evacuated from. Now, this is my understanding. This is Ukrainian workers. Okay, and the thing I can't figure out is so these are workers who did work at the plant and now no longer do. Okay, And somehow Ukraine got them out. And what they're doing with these guys is this is the personnel that we plan to attract to complete the construction of Melnitsky nuclear power plant unit. So that they're taking those people and, hey, let's Melnitsky is in another part of Ukraine, and I'm not sure exactly where the power plant is, but Melnitsky is right here, kind of in the west central Ukraine. So there's a nuclear power plant there. I think there's 3 or 4, and then there's one down here near Voznesensk that the Russians tried to take in the first days of the full-scale invasions, kind of in this general area here. But this is scary, though, because that's a huge brain drain from this power plant. So, KKs GG, you're on top messages again. Yeah, you got to watch out for that. Every time you, if you refresh the page or anything like that, flip over to another live stream or something or whatever. Yep, sure enough, back to top messages again. It's so lame. Freaking YouTube, man. Mr. Squiggle, remind me to go back and play one of the shorts from the Ukraine Scam Expert at the end of my live stream. Remind me to do that. It'll be a nice little wrap up. Because I'm going to wrap up when the caffeine wears off, and that could happen at any minute, and then I take no responsibility for my actions at that point. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make here, besides the scariness of who the hell's manning the power plant now, if they've gotten 5,000 workers out, and so that what that means is that they must have brought in a skeleton crew of Russians to handle it, who probably don't have enough training and don't really know what they're doing. Okay, set that aside. I'm looking at this, what's between these houses and the power plant. You guys see that? What is that? That is the former lake bed. Okay? That's looking from Ukraine out across into the occupied territory. Where the hell is the river? It looks like the river is right here where I'm circling. It barely even clears the tops of the houses. So it's right up against, or maybe it's way out over there and I can't even see it. I mean, I could throw a rock across that, you know? And this looks very dry. This doesn't look like mud at all. Now, if that's the case, if that is the situation, and this is from July 6th, 2023. So this is from last year. Yeah, as seen from the streets of Nikopol. Okay. So that means that this area now is probably completely dry, probably grown over with all kinds of plants, and hell, they probably have a forest growing. Yeah, it probably is greener now, Mitch. Yes. Okay. So if that's the case, then what that tells me, and I've been harping on this for months and months and months, what that tells me is that this entire lake here is like that. I'm talking about this now because orc trolls usually don't watch this far into the stream. We know for a fact, and if we look on Deep State, okay. Wait, is this one of the maps where they show? Oh no, they don't show the defense lines, but they do show units. Okay, there's hardly any Russian forces guarding this area, and I know that river crossings and landings are difficult. Okay, but why the hell isn't Ukraine attacking here? Screw the summer offensive. I was so pissed off. I didn't really say anything, but I was so pissed off when the summer offensive took place here. Why? This is where the greatest number of defensive forces are put, in like 3 Sirovikin lines deep. There's nothing here. Get a bunch of freaking boats. Send special forces across. Give them freaking bicycles or whatever it takes. And then, establish a few beachheads and then send the tanks across afterwards. I just hope that somebody's thinking about that. Not that anybody's going to listen to me. Okay, moving on. Yeah, so now let's talk about this. The murder of Irina Faryun. This is not the first assassination. We had the assassination of, there are obviously Russian agents at work all over Ukraine. Both Zhduni, in other words, traitors, and, Russian infiltrators. Traitors and infiltrators. Dimitru, yeah, defense lines in sand. Well, I didn't say dig trenches. I said cross the sand. Going back to this, cross the sand. I mean, basically, there's got to be parts that are crossable. Is what I'm saying. It can't all just be mud and sand. Anyway, but who am I, right? Who am I? Just a guy in a hole in the ground. Just a hobbit, like you. Well, not you, Dimitri, but Cheryl, I think. Or I forgot. Cheryl. I think Cheryl's an ant. I forgot. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, still a challenge for sure. Dimitri, absolutely a challenge. But what's more challenging, sand or artillery? Right? The thing that makes this so shocking is just how rare murder is in Ukraine. And certainly like murder in cold blood, not like, crimes of passion as they used to call them. Drunken brawls and stabbings and that sort of thing, which is still pretty occasional, pretty rare compared to my experience in America, for example. But to be just a 60-year-old lady, a babushka, as we would say, and in a public figure, and then of course the reason, of course, is that she has been outspoken against the use of the Russian language in Ukraine as an academic. So this is Russia. I should expect Russia trying to silence the strongest voices for Ukrainian independence. This is like spitting on a fish for Russia. If they think that they can, make people want to start speaking Russian. I was having this conversation with Secular Sakai, Tridents Against Tyrants, today, about Azov. She was critical of Azov people she had this whole controversy because she was critical of Azov people defending Mariupol who were speaking Russian. And here, Russia's saying, oh, they're trying, Azov hates anyone who speaks Russian. No, they speak Russian. So the shock of that is, I think, reverberating around Ukraine. And I mean, the SBU has its hands full, honestly. They have their hands full. I don't blame them for not being able to stop this. They're busy trying to prevent Zilinsky from being killed. We all know. So basically, this is a sacrifice, right? No, in fact, what Russia has done is to do the opposite. People are going to honor her as a hero, as a martyr, they'll put up statues of her all over Ukraine, you know. So Russia is cutting off their nose to spite their face. What they should have done is just to completely ignore this person and mock her or whatever. Killing her turned her into a saint. I mean, literally, she might become a freaking Ukrainian saint in the Ukrainian church or something like that. That's the sort of thing that they would do, you know. Dimitri, going back to the river crossing thing. So Dimitri says crossing the river and making a stand won't be an issue, but how will one hold those positions when it's all sand and dunes? Needs a lot of wood. And yeah, no, I'm proposing in my armchair generalship here. Apologies to anyone who is actually in the Ukrainian armed forces right now. I'm proposing that they cross the river, and let's say that they cross the river here, for example. They cross the river and they take a position not here along the river, okay, but they go as far inland as they possibly can, and not on foot either. Okay, as far inland as they possibly can. And I'm saying freaking e-bikes and bicycles and shit like that. Okay, to take this city here. Okay, get a whole swath, a big V here, cover as much of this area as they possibly can, not hiding out in the sand. Now, cross that as fast as you possibly can. And this is probably not the best place around Nikopol. This is the widest, most sandy place. This is probably the better down in this southern area here. That's what I would say. Yeah. But, you are probably right, and I am probably wrong. I mean that unironically. Okay. So, police are considering all versions of the motive for the crime. It's just not the sort of thing that would happen just randomly. It's not like a mugging or something like that. That just doesn't happen here. Really. It just doesn't happen. Okay. So, yeah. No, but they created a saint. They created the martyr. That's what I would say. Yeah. It wasn't me. Thanks for coming. I'm glad you're here. You were here. I'm sorry you have to go. Drone commander of Ukraine. We may even surpass Russia in number of drones. I think that's already happened. I think that has already occurred. We have more than 160 developments of various types that are being tested and used on the battlefield. I was talking, I'm still working out. I'm waiting for, I think I'm going to try and go. If they will have me, if they haven't already built all the drones. Yeah, Dimitri, it's okay. I'm just a layman too, So, yeah, Mr. Squiggle, you cross the river and don't stop. If you have to stop, you don't cross the river. Yeah. I want to take a contract out on YouTube auto type. Does it even after you post? Yeah, it does. It's obnoxious. Yes, Herb. Maybe you weren't here for the Paul's T-shirt raffle going question. Thanks for. Oh, Belle, you were just at work. I swear to God. Oh, I guess it's the weekend, but Jesus Christ. Okay, get some sleep soon. Have a good shift. So I talked about this last stream, Herb, about the T-shirt. I have to contact the company, and because right now it's out of stock. So I'm hoping that I will have word by this weekend. And then that'll be good, though, because then we'll have had a good whole month. So everybody who has donated or will have donated to this particular raffle, okay, we are up to $913. That's including PayPal donors, or the ones that I've seen since yesterday, as of yesterday. This is to buy a medical evac truck, used medical evac truck, which will cost $3,000, maybe $3,500. That's what we're going at. Yeah, you know they exist. I want to apologize. He says my last comment was deleted. So Restream has this software has like an automatic. I don't know if it could be YouTube. Okay. Oh, Cheryl says try all messages. Check for that first. But Restream also has a moderator, like an AI moderator that I suspect may be guilty. I don't have time to delete messages. I can tell you that. Keith, how long does shipping usually take? We're excited to get. Yes. Okay. I need to be clear. I do all the shipping. So if you placed a bunch of orders, now I may have these things in stock, but I got to be honest with you. I sit down about once a month and take up all the orders that everybody has, both the ones that are going to the International Legion or whatever unit we're supporting, and the ones that are being sent to you. And I ship them out all at once. And that's the only way I have time to do it all by myself. Once they're shipped, shipping usually takes about 2 weeks. Depending on where you are exactly, a week to 2 weeks. If you really, really want something a lot sooner, and you say, James, can I please have it right now? Please, please, please. I will do that. I will do that for you. But if you're okay with waiting a month, I apologize for that. It's just like I also teach English and do volunteer work, and I have a farm here in Ukraine, and I hope I can make my logistics work better. I'm just learning this. I've only been doing this since like December, guys. Update on radiation leaks in Russia. I don't know about that. You know they exist. Mitch says, I hate huge slows. How do you say that? Slows? I've always wondered. Slews? I think it's slew. I hate huge sloughs that dry in the fall. Sometimes can't stop to tie the bale, or the vibration will be enough to break through the crust and get stuck. And it's a bad place to get the pull out. Yeah, actually, my family, we have a slough that we hay for the rabbits and chickens. It belongs to like a member of the family, like a cousin or something like that. But he doesn't use any for anything, so we go out there and manually cut the grass literally with a scythe, and then rake it up and dry it. And I just published a video of my father-in-law doing that with the alfalfa from the alfalfa field. Yeah, Keith. Thank you for asking. I really appreciate it, because a couple of people were like, "Hey, where's our stuff?" It takes me a while, and it's just better for me if I just sit down and spend one whole day when I don't have any classes, or maybe just like one class, and then I just go through everything. And sometimes things like what happened this last time, people, thank you very much. People ordered so much stuff, but a lot of it was on back order and I had to like contact the companies and blah, blah, blah. And it took a little while. I'm going to try. I actually bought a bunch of extra stock now. I invested a little bit. Yeah, it's a cardio workout for sure. Yeah. It's fun though. It's a lot of fun. anyway, so the point is, please donate to this medical evac truck fundraiser that we're doing. I also have these are the two things that we are supporting right now. Is we're supporting a secret drone lab near the front line that I can't tell you where it is, but I have shown videos about it. This is a picture, and I'm actually going to publish some shorts soon of my trip there. I showed them on a live stream like a month or two ago, but you know they exist. If I could get 10 acres in Ukraine, but the rules are limiting private property about 2 acres. I think it's 3 hectares. I don't know. I mean, I think you could get 10 acres. What a lot of people do is they'll have their own so many hectares, and then 1 hectare I think is about 3 acres. And if I'm not mistaken, I thought 3 hectares. Well, no, but they just changed the laws. Anyway, I think you could get more. I think you could buy more. But also what a lot of people do is they will just rent adjacent land that's not being used. And yes, thank you for reminding me about the Russia radiation. I mean, I came across it, Russia radiation leak. Let's see. Russia denies nuclear emergency. Oh, boy. Shocking danger in Russia 2 days ago. Russian city Khabarovsk on high alert. No, that's from April. Okay. Let's take a look at what Newsweek has to say about this. I caught something about this in, kind of in the hazy end of my attention. Russia has refuted social media rumors of a nuclear emergency. Rostov. So Rostov nuclear power plant. The background radiation is normal. The messages that have appeared about where have we heard that before? Anybody who's seen the Chernobyl series knows that's a red flag there. The units are operating normally. So to give you an idea where Rostov is, it's very close to Ukraine. Rostov on Don. Okay. So this is probably where it is. So it's in this general kind of area here. This is, they've already been multiple like drone attacks and everything. There's no indication that this problem. Let's see, on Tuesday, one of the nuclear power plant's 4 power units was shut down to a malfunction of the turbine generator. There's no indication about an attack. There is a radiation emergency at the Rostov nuclear power plant. The Crimea-based Telegram channel Crimean Wind said the radioactive cloud is moving inland towards Saratov. So Saratov is over here somewhere. Where the heck is Saratov? Yeah. Oh, wow. So towards the northeast, going that direction. Oh, my gosh. Wow. Well, I'm sure everything's fine, right? Mr. Squiggle, thank you for looking that up. 1 hectare is 2.5 acres. Fantastic. Yeah. There's a lot of land that's available, and it's cheap, is what I would say. So long-term leases and rents. Mr. Oblation, yeah, I do see sheep here. People get sheep and goats, but they're not mainly for cutting the grass. They're for raising sheep. We cut the grass to feed. We feed that grass to the animals, so it's allowed to grow up in the summertime, and then we put it up in the storage above the, I guess, the barn. Yeah, so that's the last bit of news that I see on it. But let's take a look at this. By the way, this is Canal 13.
A major failure in large-scale power outages occurred in the south of Russia after an emergency.
Holy crap, guys. Oh, Mr. Squiggle. Didn't need to look it up. Wow, good job. This is the cloud. I mean, that doesn't look like a malfunction. That looks like a goddamned explosion. Okay? That's a nuclear power plant explosion. Nothing else. Wow.
Shutdown of a power unit at the Rostov nuclear power plant from the grid. The protection was triggered, Rosenergodom reported. The radiation background is normal. There are no violations of the safety of the plant's operation.
Liars.
But due to increased loads on the power system, specialists from the Ministry of Energy introduced temporary schedules for limiting electricity consumption by 1.5 gigawatts,
Wow.
the department's Telegram channel
Did he
said.
say 1.21 gigawatts? The only thing that could give that much power is a bolt of lightning. Sorry.
The restrictions affected several large cities in the south: Rostov-on-Don, Taganrog, Krasnodar, Elista, Anapa, Armavir, Jelensk, Novorossiysk.
This could be a second Chernobyl, you know? Yeah, when Russia is radioactive, they can't pretend NATO expansion is a threat anymore. How did they ever justify the 1932 Holodomor, by the way, all across Ukraine and Kazakhstan, 27 million victims? Yeah, this is something that isn't talked about. I have spoken about it on a previous live stream about Kazakhstan. I think I did. Do you guys remember that, where I talked about what the Russians did to Kazakhstan? Just basically massive depopulation, just literally killing Kazakh people in the 1920s or 30s. At the same time, they were doing the same thing to Ukraine, just total depopulation, you know, millions and millions. I have a video about that where I shared a video about it, and I can share it again, but I think it's in my community, on my community posts. This is Mr. Squiggle. This is not an emergency according to Russian standards. Could just be steam. Yeah. Could just be someone smoking. Wowza. Wowza. Amazing. I don't know what to say, guys. I'm glad that it's blowing into Russia and not into Ukraine, because the winds could change, you know, like, so if it's blowing towards Saratov, that means it's blowing in the northeasterly direction. If it switched around and blew, thank God the prevailing winds blow from west to east, because, you know, that could go straight into Ukraine, you know. Holy crap. Yeah. Oh my God. Almost sorry I asked. Yeah, Herb. Yeah. Like, and here's the other thing about it, right? This appears, let's take a look at the news. 2 days ago, and that's the end of it. Russia denies nuclear emergency, and that's the end of it. You know, so horror in Russia as radiation leak spreads while thousands are plunged into darkness. Craziness. I want here. Let's take a look at something positive, because we need something positive, guys. So this is a big complaint that Azov has had, and you know, we talked about criticism of Azov for their, you know, former political beliefs, and that's been a big reason why they did not get foreign assistance, even though they were arguably, I would say, the most effective unit in the Ukrainian armed forces. Okay? They have saved Ukraine's ass countless times, being thrown into the worst possible situations. And I can't tell you how, but I can tell you that I've met them personally. I've seen their training, and they take it. They that's really their secret, is they train and they train and they train and they train. And they are not beholden. The command structure of Azov, this is a big deal. The command structure of Azov, they have somehow, I think because of their effectiveness, they have kept their command structure clear and clean of the old Soviet command and generalship, whereas other free companies, free brigades that were formed before or at the beginning of the war, of the full-scale invasion, for example, right sector would be one that, or as much as I very much like the 47th Mechanized Brigade, Marcus Battalion, they have been essentially dissected and their command structure completely absorbed into the greater Ukraine command structure. Much, I would say, to the detriment. I mean, it happened because some of those units were not effective. But in other cases, it was much to the... Azov has maintained their separateness, and they're much more of a nimble planning structure, much more like, I would argue, it seems like NATO, in the sense, or NATO standards, where the lower ranks are there's just a lot more planning involved, a lot of recon, and it's not just I don't know if they have an officer corps or what. I'll tell you, this whole thing that I have spoken about in the last week about getting back into the Legion, when the problems started popping up that they were saying, oh, I can't join yet, or I'd have to go back to the training barracks and go through all that again, which I'm not quite ready for yet. I actually went and applied to Azov. I have contacts. I applied for one of their drone teams, and I think they probably, once again, I'm up against the same thing, because I'm not Ukrainian, and so they don't want to hire me, which I've had multiple times now. But this is great news, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, Azov, Kraken, and many more. Yeah, I mean, respect. Exactly, Dmitry. They are the fist of Ukraine. And, they seem to have, by all measures, cleared themselves of their, neo-Nazi elements, and at least to the satisfaction of the American government, and I'll take that. Herb, excuse me, Russia had a nuke failure, so to cover that, they whack the Zaporizhia power plant. Yeah, I can see that. Okay. Yeah, 3rd Assault, Keith, 3rd Assault Brigade, I think, is Azov, if I'm not mistaken. That's my understanding. Or that's what I thought. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, the point is, now they are finally starting to get, can you believe that they were the most effective unit in Ukrainian army, and they didn't have any Western equipment, or they weren't allowed to, they weren't supposed to. So Azov won NGO with the support of the Pyotr Foundation, which is one of the biggest, NGOs or nonprofits supporting the army here. Very well regarded. Has transferred the batch of armored vehicles to the 12th Azov Special Forces Brigade. This is amazing. 15 FV-432 armored personnel carriers. Where do they come from, though? They come from the UK. FV-432, tracked armored personnel carrier, developed in the 1960s for the British Army. But watch, the vehicle is lightly armored, but watch how they put this to use. I guarantee you, first of all, hull thickness of 13 millimeters, which is nothing. And is it steel or aluminum? I guarantee you they're going to cover this thing with ERA, reactive armor. Yeah. Oh, Starsky and Brandon are in Stockholm today. Yes, I saw Starsky hinting about something about Stockholm. So that's cool. Guys, by the way, I promised I was going to... Man, my coffee is still working. This is fantastic. I promised that I was going to wrap things up at about 8:30. But this is great, okay? So the point is that Azov is going to become more effective, and it's fantastic news. Petroulis Foundation said their organization had brought 164 units of wheeled and tracked armored vehicles to Ukraine and handed them over. So that's not just to Azov. So that is fantastic. Yeah, I think that I want to talk about a couple of things and then we'll wrap up. Okay. So, Joint Chiefs Chair. That'd be great if Trump ends Ukraine war quickly. Brown would be Donald Trump's top military advisor if he is reelected. So this guy's basically gunning for a job. You know, Joint Chiefs. So he's a you know, a lot of service members will say that if you want to get into the, you know, upper command, you got to get political. And this guy, so he's like a borderline politician, essentially. Some of you have said, you know, that politics needs to stay out of the armed forces. I think there was a little argument a few weeks ago about that. And I think the opposite is true as well. And I don't think this is a good thing. I mean, I don't know what he meant. He says, we have credibility that's at stake. It's not just the United States, but NATO, the West, who would just back away. So maybe what he's thinking is that Trump is going to end the war quickly by, like, you know, swinging his big stick around and saying, Russia, get out of Ukraine. That's not going to happen. What he thinks... if he can get it done in 24 hours, that'd be great. Brown says it stops the conflict and then we get back to more global security. This shows you, this is stupid. Okay. This shows you how short-term thinking is. Richard, General Brown is no fan of Trump. Biden has faith in him. Yeah, I see that, Biden. You know, I hope you're right. But this idea that stop the conflict, then we can get back to more global security. Stopping the conflict is not going to stop the war. Okay. Just saying, okay, the conflict stops now with 20% of Ukrainians' territory occupied. It's not. I mean, you know, maybe this is taken out of context or whatever. I just, he said, this is an important thing. He says that we have credibility at stake, right? So maybe he's kind of trying to call Trump's bluff, you know, but I don't think that this guy, good or bad, is going to be given a leadership position by Trump. That's a fair point. Brown knows only one man can end the war, and that man is Putin. Aha, his comments on Trump are meant to diss Trump. Fair enough. Then I take my statement back. Yeah, stopping the conflict, but in the right way. Yeah, that's fair. So just to this is really important. Okay. NATO general, Ukraine now has great strategy for warfare. I'm very curious. What does he mean by that? So, General Christopher Cavoli, NATO's supreme allied commander of Europe. So that's, like Ben Hodges used to be. Yeah. Okay, Richard. Okay, I think it's out of context in that Brown's previous statements are contrary to supporting Trump. Fair enough. So I'm just a little bit curious as to what is it about Ukraine's strategy that he thinks is great. Okay. One of the challenges and one of the biggest lessons NATO can take from the war, God, is that in modern wars you either win quickly or you're in for a long haul full of unpredictable turns. I wish that more people had learned that lesson much earlier. And there's a lot of people in the EU and American politics who clearly still need to learn that lesson. I'm just curious, what is the strategy that that Cavoli thinks is great? He praised Ukraine's current strategy, saying, over the past few months, Ukrainians have focused more on defending eastern territories, preventing Russia from freely using Crimea and southern Ukraine for attacks, and maintaining their access to the Black Sea generating force. I think they have an excellent strategy. It's just a matter of continuing to execute it. Cavoli stressed that a crucial part of Ukraine's force generation now depends on EU and NATO countries. I hope that is the right strategy. At the end of the conflict in Russia, however it ends, we will have a very big problem with Russia. So this is the point. Ending the conflict does not end the war. It just delays the war further. And my point is that no, you're just making it worse, It's making it worse, putting a Band-Aid on a massive head wound. It's 5 or 10 years, it's going to come back around. And I don't know. What I see, you guys, and this is just me, but what I see is Ukraine losing on all fronts. Okay, I don't mean losing the war, but I mean losing tactically right now, because they're just purely fighting defensively. But I was listening to JP earlier today. He was going over the losses, Russian losses versus Ukrainian losses, and I can't remember what the area was or if it was over the whole front. But he was talking about a ratio in terms of mechanical vehicles to a 1.5 ratio. So 1.5 to 1. That's Ukraine losing. So if Ukraine is losing one vehicle for Russia's every 1.5 vehicles, that's a disaster. It has to be 6 to 1. Okay? Even 3 to 1 is Ukraine losing. Okay? Well, it wasn't American politicians' sons and daughters dying and being wounded for 20 years. Why should they learn? Yes. Yeah, Maria, if you listen to Ben Hodges, you can get a glimpse of what NATO top officials think. He has predicted the development pretty good, but a year beforehand. I agree, he does, and he has, and he keeps going out there and saying it over and over and over. And I feel like nobody's listening to him, and nobody has listened to him through this whole war. It's very frustrating. Not stopping the little green men in 2014 has led to this situation today. One reason I am no fan of Obama. Yeah, I agree with you. I think I have said this before. I voted for Obama. I campaigned for Obama. But Obama really screwed up on this situation. The situation, I understand why he did it, because of the legacy of the ongoing Iraq and Afghanistan wars, and there was no appetite and all of that. But Obama drew some red lines. I know that Congress didn't back him because there was Republicans in Congress, but he should have stood up to this, to Crimea. He should have stood up to the little green men. He should have stood up to the chemical warfare in Syria, promulgated with the help of the Russians. And now we're in this position. Now we could trace it back to, well, he was forced into that because of, like I said, Bush and the Iraq war. But, I think that's making excuses. And yeah, it makes me angry. Susan Rice hobbled General Hodges in 2014. Yeah. And he's been like crying, hey, hey, ever since, I feel like. Mr. Squiggle, that's interesting. Russia up sign-on bonuses to $16,000 US. Wow, really? I did not see that. In live chat, this comment was just deleted. Attrition is the best strategy because over time, the Russians eat their own more and more. Well, I'm glad it got through. Yeah. I mean that's fair. You're right. The attrition strategy is a strategy, but I posit that is, we need, and Zilinsky has talked about this, we need decisive action. We need a massive influx of material, of all of those thousands and thousands of tanks and Humvees and M113s and everything else that are in storage in the United States that are just sitting there rotting, should have been sent to Ukraine already, and they're not. And they haven't been. So, I think that's just about where I want to wrap things up. This will be the last thing. The last thing, I swear to God, because I'm over an hour and a half. I apologize. How the Ukraine war could revamp trade in Eurasia, the Middle Corridor, a 6,500 kilometer trade route, so essentially the Silk Road, has expanded since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So this is overland route that, as we can see here, okay? And a lot of it goes through Ukraine to get to Europe. And because of the war, this has been disrupted. Transit between Europe and Asia is becoming more complicated and more expensive by the day. The Middle Corridor would be the shortest multimodal corridor, and there is genuine interest in the Central Asian. So a lot of this, what's happening here is getting around sanctions, right? Hey, yeah, by the way, thanks, guys. Do hit the like and subscribe buttons if you've come this far. Most importantly, if you've got an extra $5, buy a raffle ticket. Okay? It's not $211. That's hryvnias. That's Ukrainian money. Buy a raffle ticket or buy an antenna for Ithil Ambar, the secret drone lab. Or order something cool from my website. One of these cool things, which I have a bunch of now. I have a ton of this stuff because I want to be prepared now and not make you guys wait 6 to 8 weeks. It should be 6 to 8 weeks, not 68 weeks. Anyway, the point is, we are, I think, I spoke earlier in the the podcast, that's what we'll call it now, about the possibility of shipping routes being disrupted, and the possibility of America as a strategy to just say, you know what, we're not going to protect shipping to and from Russia anymore. And so what would the effect of that be? The effect of that would actually be, is already the sanctions are having an incredible positive effect on these Central Asian states. Let's see. Dimitri, my bank won't allow transactions to BMC. What's BMC? I don't know what that is. Time to move to some more flexible bank, I guess. I will try later with my better halves card, not for glory, all for the cause. BMC, is that MasterCard? No. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Ukraine. So you know they exist. This is very interesting and is potentially world uniting. I see Ukraine as a huge trade powerhouse in the future. Mariupol must be completely restored. I think Ukraine will get plenty of investment. Yeah, and Ukraine historically has been a major part of like the Silk Road, you know. And this is why I say Ukraine's future is bright. But for now, that has been kind of, you know, so we've seen like hundreds of times increase of trade going through Tajikistan, through Kazakhstan, and into Russia. And that's all smuggling to you around sanctions. Very interestingly, though, that is raising the I suppose the total income these Central Asian nations are getting. And it'll be very interesting to see what, you know, as this war continues, what the long-term outcome of that is going to be. These are not democratic countries by and large. And, buy me a coffee. Oh, sorry, Dimitri, I completely forgot about Buy Me a Coffee. Yes, you can always send me support on Buy Me a Coffee as well. And thank you for doing that. That is lovely. I like Buy Me a Coffee even better than like YouTube Super Chats because they take... Buy Me a Coffee takes much less of your money. But anyway, I mean, regardless of the legality of that smuggling that's going on, actually, you know, Kazakhstan and these Central Asian states could use a little boost, a little pump up, you know. And maybe over the long term, raising the standards of living, if that is the effect that it has, in these Central Asian states, will have the long term. The theory is like the kind of Clintonian, theory. You know, Bill Clinton and that whole thing, theory of, you know, as wealth increases, the rising tide raises all boats, and the middle class wants to be free. And the idea in the early 2000s certainly was that China was going to become democratic inevitably because of the rise of the middle class. And we see that is not necessarily the case. But it could be. It's a possibility. It's an outcome that could happen under the right circumstances. But as it says here, much will depend on how China perceives the middle corridor. Without Chinese cargo, there will be little incentive to expand the route. Oh, I think it's going to expand. Let me tell you, because China wants to send arms to the Russian front, and they're going to do it. The one way they can do it is by transferring through third countries and kind of get it under the radar. It's very interesting. So, let's see. It's very interesting how history kind of repeats itself, is what I'm saying. But, Mr. Skola, but as soon as the war ends and sanctions, they will have a nasty crash. So, I think that's where I will wrap it up today, because I'm starting to feel a nasty crash myself, finally. So, Mr. Squiggle, I think it was you who said I should watch one of these shorts from Ukraine scam expert. So, this is interesting. Lady chat through a dating agency. Yeah, this is right. The slowest speed.
Simon from Australia writes, I met my beautiful Marina online a month ago. For 2 weeks I asked her for a video chat. She says her internet is very slow and she has to go to Dnipro to the office of an agency. But agency wants $100 for 1 hour chat. Is the
Wow. Yeah, that's a scam for sure.
The internet really so slow in Ukraine, or is she lying to me? I would say internet at the moment in Ukraine is one of the cheapest and fastest in Europe. The slowest connection that you can get from a Ukrainian provider is 50 megabits per second.
Yep, that's right. That's right. The slowest internet speed you can get is 50 megabits per second. You know, when I lived in Silicon Valley, the fastest I could get was 12 megabits. That was in 2018. Yeah, Western Union takes a big freaking chunk. Yeah, I try to avoid them, but I deal with this crap all the time. Yeah, there's the lady scam. I mean, a lot of the, if you go online and you think you're meeting with a Ukrainian woman, you may not even be speaking to someone in Ukraine. It's just as well might be some dude in Nigeria, you know. Yeah, would you just look at that guy's shorts? I think he's scamming. Yeah, it's an interesting. I'm always interested in these things. I like his profile picture though. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Looks like a good, interesting dude. So I will be happy to watch this. And also, as I said before, where was it? The other one. Yes, take a look at this guy. For on the subject, as we discussed yesterday, on the subject of trying to talk to MAGAs. I'm not saying he knows everything. I'm investigating it myself. So, but maybe it'll help some of you. Thanks, everyone. Slava Ukraine. Do pobачення.